Good morning, students. Welcome to the virtual classrooms. We are studying it as in chapter number 6, General Principles and the Process of Isolation of the Elements. In our first lecture, we studied it how to concentrate the ore. Today, we want to go it for isolation of element from its ore, from its concentrated ore, right? Once we concentrated the ore, in the second step we want to now separate the metal, which we term it as an crude metals also, right? But when we want to go it for this, we want to go it for two steps to be done in it. In the first step, converting ore into its oxides, and then reducing oxide ores into metals. That is impure metals. I was actually going to write the impure metals, but we will see it as a metals as given in our textbook. We are going to convert it first of all into the oxide ores, and then that oxide ores we will be converting into metals, right? So for that case, converting the ores into oxides, again this particular process, it's divided into two: calcination. Now what is calcination? Calcination means whenever you are having any carbonate, sulfate, nitrate, oxides ores, whichever the ores you are having it, you convert them into a pure metal oxide. You convert them into metal oxides. Then they are considered, that particular reaction is carried out in absence of air. Then that process is known as calcination. Calcination is the ore converted into its oxide in absence of air. It's known as calcination. Example format, you can say it as ZnCO3 is there. On heating it, it gets converted into ZnO plus CO2. Heating it in absence of air, right? So it got converted into zinc oxide, metal oxide, right? You can say it as CuOH twice. On heating it, it gets converted into Cu2O plus H2O. CuO plus H2O. Then also it is considered as a particular process. Not necessary that it should be carbonate or sulfate. It can be hydroxide also. Any of the ores other than sulfide ores. Because when you are having it, your sulfide ores, roasting is carried out. Roasting means the converting the ores into its oxide in supply of sufficient quantity of the air or in excess of air. When this is reacted, that means if I am having it as an ZnS, it's reacted with O2, it gets converted into ZnO plus SO2 gas is released. So in presence of air, when this reaction is carried out in presence of air, then it is considered to be as an roasting. Balancing, again, as already told to you, it's a must. Balancing of the reaction is must. If you are having it as in suppose PBS, it's also reacted with O2, it gets converted into PBO and SO2 gas is given out. So particularly for roasting, mostly you will be having it as in sulfide ores, because they do not contain oxygen at all in them, and if you want to convert them into an oxide, it is necessary that air has to be present in it, which will be converting the compound into its oxide, right? Those components which are having oxygen present with their formats, then in that case we are going it in absence of air. Here we will be heating it in presence of air. So that particular process is sorry, that particular process in presence of air is known as roasting, right? So that is your first, converting the ores into their oxides. That is the first step that will be done. Once we got it as an oxide ore, then that oxide ore has to be reduced. Reduction of the oxide ores into metals. So what we will be having it as an, in general, MXOY is there, right? Metal oxide, we don't know whether it is a Fe2O3, Fe3O4, whether it's an ZNO, whether it's a MgO, whether Al2O3, what is it? We don't know. MXOY. It's reacted with carbon. It gets converted into M plus CO. It can be also reacted with CO. At that time it will convert itself into CO2, right? So C and CO, these are the two different reducing agents that can be used for the metallurgy. Other than C and CO, highly reactive metals can also be used. But particularly, which one will be the beneficial for the component to convert into metal and in a pure form of the metal, carbon or carbon monoxide, the particular the process which is deciding it, it's known as thermodynamically principle, that is through the Ellingham diagram. In your textbook, particularly an Ellingham diagram is given to us, but that particular Ellingham diagram, we don't want to study it, or neither we want to draw the Ellingham diagram which is given in our textbook, right? Neither we want to study anything related to the limitation or the process, how the Ellingham diagram is being carried out. Only the thing, the brief thing that we want to remember, whether it will be C or CO which will be better for the extraction of the metal from its metal oxide, is decided on the basis of thermodynamic principles. And that thermodynamic principles, it depends upon that thermodynamic principle, it depends upon the delta G, Gibbs free energy, which is given out as delta H minus T delta S. It is also given out as delta G is equals to minus 2.303 RT log K. In both the cases, if I want to say it, if delta G has to be negative, then only the reaction is possible. Delta G is negative, reaction is possible. Okay. Now, when it is possible, according to this equation, can I say that if I want to put it delta G negative, so K should be positive? K should be greater than 1. If the value of K is greater than 1, then your log value of K is going to be positive and the whole term is going to remain negative. So if K is positive, that is greater than 1, reaction is possible. The reason is the reaction proceeds from reactant to product. At that time what will happen? The reaction will proceed from reactant to product. That means reaction is going in the forward direction. So that is feasible. So K should be greater than 1. Then the reaction is possible. Right? So for that case, it is told that the condition for the thermodynamic principle is delta G should be negative. Right? Again, if I want to think it for this reaction, for this particular question, if delta S is positive, then on rising temperature, delta H will be less than T delta S. By rising the temperature, delta S is positive, delta H will become less than T delta S. And if delta H is less than T delta S, delta G will become as negative. So at high temperature, and if the entropy of the change in the entropy of the substance, delta S is change in the entropy of the substance, is positive, then reaction is feasible. The second thing is, if two different components are mixed together, then the sum of both of these delta G's, both of the components having free energy should be negative. Then only the reaction is possible to be feasible. Right? Okay. So that is the second part. Okay. Now, on the basis of this thermodynamical separation of the principles, we have been taught some of the extractions of the metals. That is specifically that we have studied it, or we told it in our very first lecture, that within this chapter we are going to study only and only of the certain extraction of the metals like iron, copper, zinc and aluminum. We are going to study extraction of 4 metals only, right? We are not going it for all of them. So let's see it, what is given to us. At least we will be discussing it of 2 different metals, or we will do it as if the time permits. We will go through all of them also, right? Okay, now let's see what is the first one. Extraction of iron from its ore. The ore that is specifically for the iron ore, we are going to use it. That is going to be hematite or magnetite. These are the 2 main principal ores where the component is reacting very nicely. So extraction of the ore, they are generally carried out by using specifically hematite or magnetite ore, right? Okay, now during this case, the ore, whatever we are getting it, first of all it is converted into metal oxide, right? So that is through calcination or roasting, the ore is converted into its oxide. Then this component is being taken for the in a blast furnace. We are going to go it for extraction of iron in blast furnace, right? A blast furnace is a very big tall building. You can say that this building is you can say it as a 5 or 7 floored building. A furnace means it's not like a metal small instrument. This blast furnace, it's made up of an heat and fireproof bricks. A very tall building is there, right, of a bricks, from the bottom certain heat is been allowed it to flow, air is allowed it to flow, the temperature is maintained in it. Actually, if you would have seen some industry, the iron industry, where the iron is being extracted from its ore, you will come to know it that this industry runs for 5, 7, 10 years continuously, 24/7 days, right? The reason is to get the temperature inside that furnace, it's a very difficult. Once the temperature is been maintained in that furnace, it's preferable to continue it for the longer duration. So that furnace, once it's on, it runs for 5, 7, 10 years depending upon the production or depending upon the raw material provided to the industry. This process goes on continuous, right? The temperature inside the container is not of 10, 100 or 50 or 500 degrees Celsius. This temperature goes up to 2100 Kelvin temperature, 2100 K. That means the temperature is going up to 2000 degrees Celsius, right? So to reach to that temperature, it's not a simple process, and that's the reason why these furnaces are running on for the longer duration. And in this case, what is done? How this particular furnace is running on? From the top, the ore mixed with limestone, ore, limestone and coke. Ore, limestone, coke. A mixture is allowed it to be dropped from the top of the furnace. Now, because as already I told you that this furnace is not a small furnace, it's a very tall building, you can say it of 5, 7 floors. So the temperature throughout the furnace is not going to be the same. on the top of the furnace, you can say that the temperature will be low. As you come bottom lower, the temperature will be high, because all the heat that is going to be gathered at the bottom only. So large amount of the heat is at the bottom. Temperature of the bottom is very high. As you go on to the top, the temperature is going to reduce, and at a different temperature the different reactions are going to take place. Like you can say it as at 500 to 800 Kelvin temperature. At 500 to 800 Kelvin temperature, the reaction that is going to proceed, Fe2O3, it's going to react with CO. It gets converted into Fe3O4 plus CO2. Right? It's reacting the Fe3O4 which is produced over there, itself immediately reacts with CO. It gets converted into Fe plus CO2. Even Fe2O3, in place of getting converted into Fe3O4, it may react with CO, also gets converted into FeO plus CO2. Right? So these are the different reactions that are carried out at 500 to 800 Kelvin temperature. Now the question arises, how do we get this CO? How do we get that CO in the reaction? So when the coke, you were adding it into the furnace, it reaches into the bottom at 900 to 1500 Kelvin temperature. That C, the air which is blown from the bottom for the heating of the furnace, the air, oxygen is pushed for the flame. So it reacts with O2 to form CO2, or it reacts with 2C plus O2, it reacts as an 2CO. So like that CO is produced. At the same time, this CO goes in the upward direction, react and gets converted into CO2. That CO2 comes over here also, back. CO2, again the CO2 that is produced in the furnace, it reacts with another coke and it gets converted into CO. Again that CO goes over here and gets, so this CO, once it is produced, it remains in the furnace and it keeps on cycling inside it only. At the same time, during the cyclization, it is also possible that FeO reacts with CO inside the furnace to get converted into Fe and CO2. So Fe is going to drop into the bottom, right? Above 1500 Kelvin temperature in the furnace, there is another reaction that is going to react, which already would have reacted over here. CaCO3, that is a limestone that is added to it. It gets converted into CaO plus CO2. This CO2 is, again we know it that it's cyclization, but the Ca that is produced, it reacts with silica, which is present as an impurity in the furnace, and gets converted into CaSiO3 in the form of a slag. It mixes and remains in the form of a slag, right? So like this slag and this iron which is obtained, both of them are going to form two different layers. Slag being in lighter remains on the upper portion, and iron being in heavier, the higher density, it will be left in the bottom. So two different liquids are there. The slag is removed from the upper portion. You can see it in your textbook. In the diagram it is shown to you that from the upper part the slag is removed, whereas from the bottom the iron, the pure form of the liquid, in the liquid state, in the molten state, the iron is separated. While separating this iron, we get it as an 4% coke and the other impurities. The Fe produced contains 4% coke and other impurities. in smaller note. This form of iron is known as pig iron. This particular form of an iron, it's known as pig iron. When your pig iron is heated, when your pig iron is heated with scrap iron, that means the amount of the coke, the amount of the impurity is been reduced. We get it only 3% of coke left out in it. In pig iron we were having it as an 4%, while in the cast iron we are having it as an 3% of the impurity that is present in it. Right? Okay. At the same time, you can also say that when a pig iron, when your cast iron, this cast iron, this cast iron containing an impurities of an oxide is heated it's a pure form of an iron, highly pure form of an iron, wrought iron. That is, your cast iron, you can say that Fe2O3, right? It's reacted with, it gets converted into Fe plus CO, wrought iron. These are the different form of an irons, depending upon the requirement of the ore, depending upon the requirement of the strength of the material. These particular different forms of an irons are used for the different processes. Right? Okay. Applications, the uses of this, we will have to study it in the last topic in our chapter. Right? After extraction of the copper, iron, we will go it for extraction of copper from its ore. Right? Particularly copper, we will be having it as a copper pyrite, Cu2Fes, or copper sulfide, Cu2S. That is being a specific ore through which copper is being extracted. Right? So in that case, the copper sulfide ore, first of all, Cu2S, it's roasted to get converted into Cu2O plus SO2 gas. Right? This is the first step. We have the balance reaction. When we will be writing it, we will be getting it as a 2Cu2O. It's a Cu2S. 2Cu2S reacts with O2 to get converted into 2Cu2O plus 2SO2. So it got converted into copper oxide. This oxide, Cu2O, it's reacted with C. The Cu2O is reacted with C. When it is done, it gets converted into Cu plus Co. 2Cu plus Co. So we got it as a copper. But during this process, we saw it that very simply, we wrote it. But this metal, it's not getting it as in simple reactions. During this process, when we are having it, the started for converting this, there are the certain iron ore impurities present in it. That iron ore impurities, FeO, reacts with SiO2 to form FeSiO3 slag. So during extraction of iron, we got the slag in the form of calcium slag, CaSiO3. During the extraction of the copper, we got it as an iron slag, FeSiO3. So that can be an objective question for you. Like in particularly this good set exam, it was been asked during the extraction of iron from the in a blast furnace, which slag was formed. In the blast furnace, which slag is formed? CaSiO3. Right? In the copper is carried out in reverberatory furnace. The specific name of that furnace is reverberatory furnace, in which this process is being carried out. In it, the formation of the slag will be in the form of FeSiO3. But during this case, when you are having it, this ore, the ore has a mixture of Cu2s and Fes. This mixture is known as copper matte. The mixture of copper sulfide and iron sulfide together is known as copper matte. Right? When you are having this mixture, what is going to happen? Both of these are taking it for the roasting purpose. So at that time, what is the reaction that you are going to write it? Cu2s reacts with O2. We wrote it as Cu2O plus 2SO2. Similarly, Fes reacts with O2. It produces FeO plus SO2. If we write it as a balanced reaction, we are going to get it as 2FeO reacts with it to produce 2SO2. Right? Now both these oxide formations has taken place. This oxide reacted with slag, silica to form slag. But what about this copper? Cu2O, the two molecules, it reacts with one molecule of Cu2s. At that time, what will happen? It will produce 6Cu, SO2. This is the copper that you are getting it in the pure form. But at the same time, this SO2 is also liberated in a form of a gas. Because of this SO2 which is liberated in a form of gas, blisters are obtained in the copper. Because of SO2 gas, blisters are seen in copper metal. So such metal is known as blister copper. We term it as a blister copper, right? So this is not in pure form, impure form, containing some impurities. Again, still SO2 gas and certain other impurities are there. So this has to be purified. So in the third step, we will be seeing how to purify these metals, right? Okay. Anyhow, during this lecture, we saw it that how to extraction of the two different metals can be done, right? Rest two metals which we are having it to be extracted, and the third step of the purification of the metals. We will see it in our third lecture, right? We will see it tomorrow. Till then, thank you.